And now is your time to participate in the D. Armstrong Show. We want you to call in because you have some great questions, I know. And we have some great guests with us right now. You know, spring is right around the corner. A lot of us just itching to get out in the yard and do some gardening. I love gardens. Here to help us give some tips from the Valley Master Gardeners are Jennifer Davidson and Tina Armstead. Welcome so much. First of all, we're going to get a shot of what you have here. This ugly stuff, but I'm sure it's wonderful. Tina, what do we have here?
We have worm composting, and the castings, which is the black part right here, is called black gold, and it's the castings are made by garbage that you would have in your kitchen. And you would put this in the garbage and the worms eat it, and then you have this fabulous stuff right here.
That you can use in your garden?
In your garden, in your house plants. It's very expensive if you buy it, but if you know, grow it yourself.
If you grow it yourself.
Free.
So we all know where we can get a plastic container, so we all can compost?
Yes.
I see a plastic container. I see newspaper.
Yes, this is the bedding, and I just fed them this week. Let me dig this out. Some fabulous icky mushrooms.
Icky mushrooms.
Yes,
okay.
Because
so tell us, how do you establish this? You start with
you have a plastic container. You have to drill holes in the bottom for drainage.
Okay.
And the top for air. And then you take newspaper, shred it. Wet it, squeeze it out really, really well.
Squeeze it out. Okay.
Yes. And then you can order worms online, and they're red wigglers. And you put the worms in there and put some dirt in there and then kind of feed them a little bit, and then as they get used to it, they eat more and more.
I'm kind of a tomboyish thing, so red wigglers don't scare me. Can we find a red wiggler?
Yes, let me see. I had a Jennifer will pick them. I don't touch.
There's a red wiggler. You don't touch it?
I don't touch
Yeah,
them.
Tina doesn't touch her own
That's
worms.
why I have this.
Tina.
Yeah, I don't do worms.
You sure?
I am positive.
And this is going to aerate the soil and
well, this actually will just fertilize the soil. These are not the worms. I know people think this is nuts. These are not the worms that aerate the soil. These are not the night crawlers. These eat organic matter. They're very specialized. And see, they're very small too, but they eat a lot.
Awesome, awesome. So these are some of the things that you teach people. What else are you, some of the common questions about getting that soil ready for gardening?
Well, another way is composting your yard waste, and that also makes black gold, and that definitely is a good thing to do, not only for your garden but also for the environment. Okay. And it's easy to do. We have a composting class on that coming up next week, and also with the worms eat my garbage is in that. But that and amending our soil, because I know most everybody knows this, we are sitting on clay. Oh, yes. So we need a lot of amendments so that we can, you know, grow things that are
When people found out you were coming, we got some questions from Facebook.
We did. This one is actually from Michelle of Columbus. She wants to know, are there any tricks to transplanting a plant? She says, I find that when I do so, the plants die.
Transplanting.
Well, obviously it depends on what sort of plant you're transplanting, but if you're trying to transplant like a shrub or something like that, the general trick is to make sure that you get enough of that root ball and you don't let the root ball crack when you're moving it. Transplanting is really difficult.
After a certain age, or even when they're
even when
small?
they're very small, you can't let the root ball crack, so you have to make sure that you keep it really, really tight. And also it's better to do it in the wintertime because you're not adding that extra stress. If you try to do it in the spring, then it's not too long until we get warm, you know. I mean, summer comes so quickly, then it'll be that added stress to that plant.
What I wondered about transplanting, and I had a lot of successes, but when you have the roots that have grown very long, what is the problem when you're cutting off some of those roots?
Well, you're damaging that plant, you know, so you are damaging the plant, and so that's why I say really it's better to just go ahead and buy a containerized plant than trying to do a lot of transplanting. Try to choose the right plant for the right place the first time around.
I transplanted my kids to death. It became a joke every Saturday. Where are we putting the bushes this time? Until I finally figured out where to put the bushes. Yeah, so that's good information. It's better to go ahead and get a new plant and put it where you want it in the first place.
Right plant, right place. That's one of the things that we're teaching. We have a class series that the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension and the Valley Master Gardeners are cooperating with the Columbus Botanical Garden, and we have a new series of classes, and Tina's actually our next speaker, March the 10th. We're going to have one
right around the corner.
Worms Eat My Garbage. They can learn how to make this worm bin, both indoor and outside composting. And if anybody's interested in signing up, we still have some space available. They can call the Columbus Botanical Garden at 327-8400.
Now, once you get this just like you want it, Tina, is it ready yet?
It would be if I cleaned it out.
Clean it out, what, get some of the paper out?
Well, what you do is, theoretically, it doesn't work for me, but
okay, we're going to tilt it a little more so they can
dump this out on a piece of plastic, not, when it's 95 degrees because the worms will fry, and then rake the castings off and leave the worms so you can put them back in another worm bin. Now, for whatever reason, mine always tends to be a little wet, so I can't do that. So I sit down for 3 hours and pick them out one at a time. But this is actually the black castings is what you would use to put on your plant. And
mix it into the soil.
Yes.
Huh? We are taking phone calls for the gardeners. You have master gardeners here with a series of classes coming up. And actually, by calling and signing up for the classes, you'll save money. Because I didn't tell you how much money I wasted doing some of that stuff. But learn from the master gardeners. 569-9390, 569-9390, because I know that this time of year you just want to go out and buy all the plants and you want them to survive. Do you agree with the report that we have coming up that don't fertilize right now?
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. People usually do jump the gun with fertilization because we do get these mild snaps, and I'm the same way. I get out in the yard and I really want to start to get going, but really until our soil temperature is about 65 degrees at a 4-inch depth.
Well, how will I know that? How will I know that?
Well, you can go to georgiaweather.net and actually look at that. Generally speaking, it's going to be maybe the end of April or middle of April. It changes every year with our weather, obviously. But one reason why you don't want to fertilize too early is because the plant can't use it, and so really that's a waste of money. Then also that fertilizer has a chance of running off and those nitrates getting into our water supply. And then also we found that if you fertilize too early in the season, your turfgrass has a greater chance of having disease problems. So there's 3 big reasons why you really don't want to go too early. Although I know that it's out there at the garden centers, you know, like I said, you get these mild snaps.
You know how many of us have done it wrong for a long time and wondered what was going on, you know, because we didn't ask the right questions. Awesome, awesome. Now, what are the easiest plants to survive in the type of soil that we generally have here? Azaleas?
You want to say that? Azaleas are probably not the easiest.
They're not the easiest. Now,
really?
One thing Jennifer hasn't said yet, and I feel like I must. Soil testing. That is almost the first thing you need to do before you plant anything is do a soil test.
So I get some soil and I put it in a bag like this.
Yes.
And then what do I do with my bag?
You can take it to our office. We're at 420 10th Street, the Government Annex building. It's $9 per sample. The way to take a proper sample is to make sure that you take a representative sample from your area. So you want to take several sub-samples from, for instance, if you're doing your turfgrass area. Make sure you bring it in, try to bring it in dry and without the grass and that sort of thing. Mix it up. It usually takes about a week for us to get the results back to you, and the results are going to tell you exactly how much lime to put out, which we really do need to lime every year.
For $9?
For $9, and exactly how much fertilizer to put out as
We have a phone call. Susie from, is it Phoenix City, I believe?
Yes.
Hello, what's your question?
My question is, I have some amarella lilies. They have stopped blooming. What can I do?
When your lilies stop blooming?
I'm not sure if she said amaryllis lilies. I don't know. Is it right now that you're concerned about them? Because right now they should just be putting up the growth right at the very beginning of it. If it's been a year, you know, problem in years past, it could be a nutrition problem. It also could be maybe they're in a little bit too much shade, or they may not be getting adequate water.
So how do you avoid so much transplanting and moving? If I want to put those lilies out, I go get a soil sample and I tell you maybe where the sun rises and sets in my home?
That could help. Just generally knowing your own landscape could help, because you might know. I know where a sunny spot in my yard is, and I know where the shady areas are. So just generally knowing, matching the right plant, knowing you're buying a shade plant for a shady area or a sun plant for a sunny area is part of the half of the battle. And then also we're having one of our classes on gardening with the masters is called plant selection. Joyce Fowler, who is a Valley Master Gardener, is going to be teaching that, and that's going to sort of give you some tips on things on how to choose the right plant to begin with.
Thank you so much for being with us, Master Gardeners. And how can we get in touch with you again one time?
Our office number is 706-653-4200. If they're interested in signing up for the class, though, they do that through the Columbus Botanical Garden at 327-8400.
Awesome, awesome. Great information, ladies. And
Thanks
it's
for
so
having
nice
us.
to know that other ladies are not afraid to get their hands dirty. Okay. It's fun. Well, thanks for joining us. Coming up, Virginia Madsen and Blair Underwood of NBC's hit show, The Event. The star of an evening with Lucille Ball and Dr. Brenna Murphy from Elements Natural Medicine. All that's next on the Dee Armstrong Show. Stay with us.